My name isn't important, but let's call me Luke. My wife. Let's call her Debbie, and I have been married for 8 years. Like any couple, we've had our share of ups and downs, but a few months ago, something changed. Debbie started acting strangely, becoming overly protective of her phone in a way she never had before. It was always in her hand, as if it were an extension of her body. Even when she went to the bathroom, late-night texting sessions became routine, and she would often slip into bed long after I had already fallen asleep. At first, I tried to convince myself it was just work stress or a new hobby, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Suspicion gnawed at me until I couldn't ignore it anymore. One night, while she was in the shower, I gave in to my doubts and checked her messages. I know snooping isn't the most honorable thing to do, but desperate times call for desperate measures. What I found shattered my world. Explicit messages and pictures exchanged with a man named Mark. Anger and heartbreak surged through me, but I knew I needed a plan before confronting her. I wanted answers, and I wanted to make sure she couldn't talk her way out of it. A burning desire to confront Mark also took root in me, but I knew violence wasn't the answer. That's when a risky idea formed in my mind. I would invite her lover over using her own Messenger account. The next day, while Debbie was at work, I logged into her Messenger, knowing she'd be at the movies that evening with her sister and her kids. That gave me the perfect window. I made sure to log out of all other devices, so she wouldn't discover what I was about to do. Then, pretending to be her, I messaged Mark, expressing feelings I never thought I'd write. I told him how much I missed him and wanted to see him that night. It was a dangerous move, and part of me questioned my own actions, but my need for answers and closure pushed me forward. After setting the trap, things took an unexpected turn. Mark seemed more than willing to go along with it. I gave him specific instructions. He was to sneak into our house through the side door, strip down to his underwear, and head straight to the bedroom, where I would be waiting. A twisted sense of satisfaction filled me as I hit send, erasing the messages afterward to cover my tracks. While waiting for the night to unfold, I decided to dig a little deeper into Mark. A quick search revealed something interesting. He was married, too. I tucked that piece of information away, knowing it might come in handy later. The night of the showdown, I parked my car a few blocks away and sneaked back into the house, making sure to leave the side door unlocked. I didn't want Mark spotting my vehicle and getting suspicious. Hidden in the shadows of the bedroom, I braced myself for what was about to happen. Finally, I heard the side door creak open. Footsteps approached. My heart pounded in my chest as Mark entered the bedroom, following my instructions to the letter. Without hesitation, I burst out of the shadows, yelling at the top of my lungs, "What the hell are you doing in my house?" Mark jumped, his face filled with panic as he desperately tried to cover himself with his hands. I didn't give him a chance to respond. Fueled by rage, I lunged at him. Our bodies collided with a thud, and the room erupted in the sounds of a struggle. I felt the heat of my fury as I landed punch after punch, unleashing my anger on him. He tried to fight back, but my sheer intent overwhelmed him. Amidst the chaos, I could hear his grunts and the occasional plea for mercy. After a few minutes, I stepped back, leaving him battered and bruised on the floor. I pretended not to know who he was, yelling accusations about him breaking into my home and attempting to attack me. The whole time, our fate hung in the balance. The home surveillance system had captured everything. Without hesitation, I contacted the police, presenting the footage of Mark entering the house and feigning ignorance about his identity or intentions. The authorities arrived swiftly, taking him into custody on charges of trespassing and assault. Mark remained silent throughout, likely too stunned and disoriented to come up with a defense, especially in my presence. Perhaps he preferred to keep the real reason for his presence a secret, avoiding the humiliation of admitting his involvement with my wife. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on me, and inwardly, I found amusement in the absurdity of it all. That night, when Debbie returned home, I remained composed. Casually, I asked about her evening, allowing her to process the disorder in our bedroom. Her confusion was evident as she demanded an explanation. Seizing the opportunity, I began detailing the bizarre and unexpected events that had unfolded in her absence. When I described how a half-naked man had trespassed into our bedroom, her eyes widened in fear. I then showed her the surveillance footage, replaying the confrontation. Her feigned surprise and horror were almost laughable, but I could sense she knew exactly who he was. I decided to test her, asking outright if she recognized the intruder. She vehemently denied any knowledge, but the way her gaze repeatedly flickered toward the screen betrayed her discomfort. Pressing further, I pointed out how the intruder seemed to know his way around, making a beeline for our bedroom. The psychological pressure was wearing her down, and I could see her composure start to crumble. Then I delivered the final blow. I mentioned his name. "Mark," I said, watching for her reaction. I explained how he had been arrested and that I had done some digging. Mark was married, and now I planned to call his wife to get the full story. Debbie's face drained of color, and she desperately tried to dissuade me, insisting it wouldn't help or solve anything. But my instincts told me otherwise. I grabbed my phone, pretending that I had just thought of reaching out to Mark's wife. As I navigated through Facebook, preparing to send her a message, Debbie finally broke down. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed everything. The affair, the lies, the betrayal. She pleaded with me not to involve Mark's wife, saying it would only make things worse. But it was too late for that. Without hesitation, I sent the message, exposing the painful truth. Turning to Debbie, I coldly told her to pack her things and leave. The trust we once shared had been destroyed beyond repair. The next morning, I filed for divorce. Despite her desperate pleas for forgiveness, the damage was irreversible, and reconciliation was out of the question. Not long after, Mark's wife called me. He had erased all incriminating messages, but eventually, he admitted the truth to her, why he was in my house that night. At least, from their perspective, there was no direct connection to me in the setup. Mark now faced legal repercussions and the consequences of his betrayal, dealing with the fallout of his actions. As for me, I'm focusing on moving forward, turning the page on this nightmare and rebuilding my life. The dramatic part of the story is over. Now, it's about healing and finding peace. This experience has been nothing short of hell, but if sharing it offers someone insight or even a bit of entertainment, then at least something good has come from it. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below.